I'm Bill and I'm glad you're here. Let's take a look at electrical circuits. We have already seen how electricity is electrons flowing through conductive materials, and we've seen how we can take a conductive material and make it into a wire and put a tube of insulating material around it, and this allows us to control where the electricity goes. Now, the next idea we want to take a look at is what's called an electric circuit. The word circuit comes from an old Roman word meaning to go around, and electricity won't go anywhere or do anything until you give it a complete round trip path to follow. So, we're going to look at that in this very simple electric circuit, which is a battery, two wires, and a flashlight bulb. And we're going to use the wires to make a path for the electricity, which is supplied by the battery, to come out of one end and go to one end of the bulb, go through the bulb, come out the other end of the bulb, and go through the other wire back to the second end of the battery. Now you'll notice I'm talking about one end of the battery and one end of the bulb, and that's a very important idea as well. Every piece of an electrical circuit is something we call a component. That's the individual pieces that we string together to make a path for the electricity to follow. And every component has two ends. It's a little bit like people standing in a circle holding hands. Every person has two hands, and with one hand you can hold hands with the person on your right, and with the other hand you hold hands with the person on your left. And if you do that over and over around in a circle, you get a circle of people holding hands. An electrical circuit is kind of like that, and every component has two ends. They're called terminals in electricity, but they're very much like your hands. They're something that can be used to connect to the next one that's the same kind of thing. Now, this is not particularly good manufacturing technique, but I am going to use some Scotch tape to hold the bare end of this wire onto the battery. This doesn't make a very good electrical connection, but it will at least hold the wire in place. I have stripped extra length of bare wire on this end of this wire because the bulb has a screw-in socket base where it's made to go into the socket in the flashlight, and I can just wrap the wire around that, and that will hold it in place fairly well. So now we have one wire going from this end of the battery to one end of the bulb, and we're going to take this other bit of wire and connect the battery's other end to the bulb's other end, which is this little tip right out here. So again, I'm going to take a piece of Scotch tape, and use that to hold this wire onto the battery. And that lets me use one hand to hold the two wires to the battery fairly solidly. So that'll be a good electrical connection. And now I'm going to take this last end of the wire, and this will make, I'm going to bend it around so it really does make kind of a circle, and you can see it that way. When this wire touches that end of the bulb, it will make the complete round trip and make the circuit, and then the bulb lights up. It's not a very bright bulb, but this is just one battery, and I'm using very low voltage so I can do this with my hands and you can see it. But the ideas to understand and remember are that when there's not a complete round trip for the electricity, the bulb is off because the electricity is not flowing. But when you make a complete circuit, the electricity will flow. And the other idea to come to understand and remember is that every component, the wire, the bulb, the battery, has two terminals that are used to connect it to other things in the circuit. That is, in a very simple way, what electric circuits are. AstuteKidDotCom